welcome to the Thursday, January 9th, 2020 edition of the Clemson Dubcast. Hope everybody out there is safe and well. You know, I got to say something. This series of articles, in their words, articles featuring interviews with former Clemson players. I think we're 27 in right now. It's been amazing to hear some of these stories of what a lot of these guys overcame from their backgrounds and how important football has been to their lives. You wonder where they'd be. They wonder where they would be without football. The upcoming interview with Brandon Maye, certainly in that category, as he describes his childhood and then also trying to live with life after football, even trying unsuccessfully to take his own life. And I say that to say that we didn't go out looking for the best stories or the most captivating stories of hardships overcome. It just happened in the course of just calling former players up, and just remarkable tales from Ben Hall to Stanley Hunter to Ricky Sapp to Javis Austin to now Brandon Maye. So it's been powerful to listen to the testimony of a lot of these guys, and we're going to continue doing this series, the In Their Words series, on TigerIllustrated.com. So if you're not already a member of the site, now is a great time to join. Title sponsor of the Dubcast since the very beginning, back in August of 2018, Parham Smith & Archenhold Law Firm in downtown Greenville. They want you to know that their office remains open and available to serve you during the COVID-19 crisis. They are also offering their clients the ability to meet via telephone or through video conferencing. Whether you have a loved one who has suffered from a car accident, defective product, a neglectful nursing home facility, or medical malpractice issue, Parham Smith & Archenhold's Greenville lawyers can provide the protection and guidance you need. Free consultations, 864-990-4581, or on the web at parhamlaw.com. That's PARHAM law.com. If you're in the Eastern Midlands and PD area and you're in any way interested in buying and selling a home, commercial property, land, need to consider reaching out to Uptown Realty. They're based out of Sumter and run by a friend of mine, Patrick Enzer, big Clemson guy, used to cover the Tigers in a newspaper capacity, longtime supporter of Tiger Illustrated, longtime listener to the Dubcast. The home buying process should be an enjoyable experience, so let Patrick and his staff do all the heavy lifting. All you got to do is pick up the phone and call 803-774-0435 or go to uptownrealtysc.com. Okay, to Brandon Maye, linebacker who played at Clemson from 2008 to 2010 before transferring to Mississippi State. Here we go. Enjoy. Okay, joined by Brandon Maye, going way back to the Tommy Bowden / Dabo Sweeney era. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing awesome. When you say go way back, I started to look at my face in the mirror and saw this gray hair. I'm like, dude, I'm starting to get old for real.
You and me both, my friend. I don't know if you would recognize me. I got so much gray hair now.
It's all good, man. They said gray hair means you gained a whole lot of wisdom.
or had a whole lot of stress. Maybe both. Maybe a little of both.
Yeah, a little bit of both.
Well, all right. First of all, tell everybody what you're up to. I see you. I got your Instagram feed up right now. B. Maye Inspires. It says former college football player, author, performance coach, philanthropist, real estate investor, leader. What is? Did you leave anything out?
I think we put all we can put on there. I think we actually ran out of space. My thing is, man, in these days and these hours, I started off doing a ton of things after the injury at Mississippi State that senior year, and then playing that whole year hurt, and then getting picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only to hear that my career was over. I was doing a ton of things, dude. I thought that I was the greatest because I had so many things on my plate. But now I'm starting to learn that if I want to continue to be successful, is I got to really operate as a sniper opposed to a machine gun. So I'm trying to be really, really dialed in with what I'm doing, so people can really understand what I'm doing. Just like anybody else, like if you're doing a ton of things, then you kind of confuse people on what are you actually doing. So I'm just focusing in, man. I'm trying to be a sniper, dude.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to, I guess, give everybody an idea of sort of your progression. I know you were doing like a auto detailing business at one point. Is that right?
Sorry about that. So man, as you know, I started at linebacker for Clemson for 3 years, and I really learned how to be a leader there. I wasn't the best teammate at the beginning doing that transition from Coach Bowden to Coach Sweeney, but I pulled those guys together. I remember that day Coach Sweeney was going up for the job, and I called like a players-only meeting. And I talked to my defense, and I let my defense know, like, this dude is, he's waited for this opportunity. Let's dial in and make this happen. So I had such great foundation that was built from being a part of Clemson football, and it would always be a part of my heart. Going into that, I think it was the senior year, I had the decision to make, turn my NFL paperwork in, and I had like a third-round grade, late second or third round grade, just based off potential. And, I've been starting so many years and played for Coach Steele, and then also for Coach Vic Conan. I've learned so much about, actual schemes, and being an NFL linebacker was definitely something that was in my sight. But I had the decision to make. My grandma had congestive heart failure. And I know we portrayed and put out in the media that it was a personal thing that was going on that forced me to transfer. Now I'm starting to really tell people the personal thing is my grandma. And she eventually passed away, but I had to make a decision. I had to get closer to home. I got to Mississippi State, and I brought what we learned at Clemson State. I brought toughness. I brought tenacity. I brought effort. And going into that second week of camp, I won the starting position. I was now starting in the SEC, and you can go back and probably do a little research of some of the articles from that year when Coach Mullen was referring to me as, this guy's going to win the Dick Buckus Award. He's what we're looking for. I'm playing behind Fletcher Cox, who became like the top 5 draft pick. And it was a great time, and things were going really, really well. And going into like the third week of camp, I made a step back on my Achilles. Some guys, I kept running and blitzed a hole, and a couple offensive linemen fell on my leg, and that's when the whole trajectory of my career changed. Come to find out, I was banged up the whole year. I was a co-starter. It was devastating. People really didn't know, dude. I was on pain pill every night because I told Coach Mullen when I got there, I made my commitment. I'm a guy of commitment. I made my commitment. I told Coach Mullen, I said, no matter what happened this season, I never stop. I'll finish. So I was taking like pain pills late at night, trying to get up the next day to get to practice at State. I was just out of my mind, to be honest. And come the NFL draft time after that season, I remember sitting in the living room with my mom and my grandma and my stepdad, who worked so hard to make me the man that I am today, coming from, 2-bedroom house, 15 people in the hood, and most of the people in my family, high school dropouts. I'm sitting and I'm looking at the TV, and I'm saying to myself that, my name has to be called just based off the body of work. And that night, man, the first round draft went second, third, all the way to the last pick, and my name wasn't called. I remember looking around the room and looking at my mom, my grandma, just looking at them and just seeing like the shock on their face. And I felt like I let my mom down, because when you grow up in an area like I grew up, you make certain commitments or you have different dreams, like you're driven a certain way. And I told my mom at a very young age, I said, when I make it to the NFL, you'll never want for nothing. So I felt like I let her down that night. And that night, I got in the car. It's dark, it's gloomy, kind of fitting for what I was getting ready to do. And I got in the car, and I drove towards my high school, my middle school, and my elementary, and I flashed back to when people were saying that, Brandon, you'll never be nothing. I was a 2-star recruit, barely qualified to come to Clemson. And I come upon the bridge, man, and I tried to drive my car off the bridge, and my car cuts off. And I heard literally the voice of God say, that was only the platform, is more than I require for you. So the next morning, I got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, only to find out that when I go in for my physical, that my career would be over. And I just went through weeks and weeks after that, man, of just devastation. I had a master's degree and had to find out that my career was over, and I had to have a full reconstructive surgery on my Achilles. And I just went through like a bitter, dark area, man. Like I didn't sleep, I didn't eat, and I just wrote And in about 3 weeks, I became a published author. I put all my pain into that book, and that was the birth. That was the birth of the Brandon Maye that people know, the Life After Football Brandon Maye. And I feel that us as athletes, we sometimes struggle with dialing all the way in on the actual dream, and we don't really focus on that this dream, this ball, this air will run out of the ball, and who will you be then? What type of impact would you make? When 90,000 is no longer screaming your name, nobody is running up to you for autographs, who will you be then? Will you change people's life? Will you serve people? And I started my first company. I know I'm just kind of going in right now, but I'm feeling this. I feel like I'm helping somebody, so I'm going to just keep going.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, so I started the first company with the master's degree, and people literally thought I was losing my mind. My mom took me to multiple site places so that I can get tested.
What kind of company? I'm sorry to interrupt.
You good. Go ahead.
What kind of company? You said you started a company. What was it?
Yeah, it was an auto detailing company,
okay.
Man. It was crazy. My mom, she had this. So I got a cast on my leg at this point. Like, I don't know where I'm going in life. Like, I literally don't have a clue. All I know is I got a master's degree, and I'm not working for anyone. And my mom, she had this red Yukon truck in front of the house. The windows don't let down. There's no AC in it. I got like a little crack in the driver seat. And I looked out there, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do something with this. So I started YouTube and stuff. Yeah, and I looked at all these different car washes all around town. I was like, what about the people that's at work and that's busy, that don't have time to go? So after I got the cast off, I went to Atlanta, Georgia, started selling for a company, and I became like the top salesman. So I learned how to be a salesman. And then I came back home and started the mobile detailing company, and it just kind of like went through the roof, dude. People was calling me up. I was all over the place, cleaning cars. And I'm doing this the whole time with no AC, you know, just grinding, man, just grinding. And it just birthed everything else. Now I own an exterior cleaning company. In our first year of business, we did over six figures. And from there, we started investing in real estate, and I flipped over like 10 homes last year. And now I travel the country doing motivational speaking, just a whole lot of stuff going on, man. It's just an awesome feeling. I'm a published author. I got a community that we're building up called Elite Transformation, where people are coming onto my webinar every Wednesday night at 7:00 p.m. They're being blessed. They're becoming a part of a community of people that's holding them accountable. A lot of these people are entrepreneurs, and they struggle with being accountable. They struggle with being disciplined and focused, and that's the traits that I learned, and that's why companies like to bring me in to speak to their sales team. Companies like me to deal with their employees. You got schools that bring me in to deal with their kids, and sports teams. Coach Sweeney brings me in every year, 2 or 3 times a year, to deal with his football team. I'm a high performance coach. I break down the mental psyche of an individual and try to figure out what is it that we got to do to get this person to perform at a really, really, really high level. So that's where I am right now, man. I'm blessed to be on this call.
Wow, it's crazy. I was just yesterday had an interview with Ricky Sapp, and he was sharing how after his NFL dream died, he spent 2 years in severe depression, and it just seems so common because it's so abrupt. It's not like, most people don't envision it ending. When you've been so good at something your whole life, right?
Right.
And you've been defined by that one thing, football, basketball, whatever. You don't picture it ending at age 23, 24, or even 30,
Right.
And so there's that has to be such a traumatic thing for so many people. I think I've heard Taj Boyd has said that he went through the same stuff, and I'm sure numerous other people, because that's your identity. That's who you've always been, and then all of a sudden you have to figure out who you are, right?
Right, yeah. I just want to take a second to recognize Coach Sweeney and Jeff Davis, Rashard Hall, and their staff and their committee with the Paul Journey and what they have going on, because what they're doing is they're allowing a student athlete to translate or transition from the game of football before they actually meet that impact, that point. So they're doing internships. They're doing so many different things off the field that when these kids are done, some of these kids are not going to the NFL. They won't even get a shot to go to camp. They're already walking into a job. They're making six figures and things on that nature. So that's the game changer. And that's what we're doing right now as a company, like Elite Transformation. We got a division where we're going to be working with sports teams. We got a division that we're working with sales team, and we're helping athletes. That's going to be one of our things is helping athletes transition. We want to help athletes perform at a high level, but at the same time, we want to help them transition and see that when this air go out this ball, you gotta turn it over. I looked at a couple universities, big time colleges that don't have this type of program in place, and I feel like they're missing out, man. A lot of the athletes are committing suicide because they're going through post-traumatic stress and they don't know how to transition. I went through tons of it. And I still have my moments where I flash back and go through a little different, my mind kind of wander out. But because my foundation and my base is so strong, I don't think about driving off that bridge no more, So, yeah, hats off to Clemson football team, Coach Sweeney, Jeff Davis, for what they have in place.
Yeah, I mean, when you got to Clemson in, I guess, 2007, there was none of that. Not just at Clemson, but anywhere else. It's almost like... during that era and previous eras, football players are more commodities. It's like, what can you do for us now, on the field? And then once your eligibility is up, we just move on to the next guy. And you're sort of, there's no support system. There was no support system for, preparing you guys for what happens when the 80,000 fans are no longer cheering you and you're no longer a rock star. You're just another guy trying to get a job.
Right. Yeah, that was nothing in place. And like you said, that was at literally every university that there was nothing in place. Like they may have a class of two, but to have a overall program where you're doing internships and all those things, that I can't remember, or I don't know of any place that has something like that in place. But, everything revolves and you continue to learn more research, technology continues to expand. All kinds of stuff happens, man. And that's why the world is such a unique deal because so many different things happen,
Can we talk about your upbringing? I think I read you lost your father at an early age.
Yeah, so when I was 2 years old, my mom was, and I'm hearing these stories from her as I'm writing the book because my book it's an inspirational autobiography, and it's so crazy, man. I did a couple signings actually in Clemson when I brought it out, but the stories I heard from my mom is at 2 years old, my dad was in an argument with his mom, I think boyfriend or fiance at the time, and they both was having some alcohol beverages, and they got into this argument, and my dad was a bigger, muscular guy, and this guy was a smaller guy, so he pulled out his pocket knife, just a little small pocket knife, and he cut him, and they was best friends. This was so weird to everybody, and when he hit him in one of his main arteries, and so my dad went chasing after him. And on the side of the home, they found my dad later on because they was looking for him, but they couldn't find him. He was on the side of one of the homes. He had collapsed, and he bled to death. So after that, my mom was kind of faced with raising a man by herself, other than having my grandma. We always been a close-knitted family. And she just, I think she told me at 5 years old, she met my stepdad, and eventually that became her husband. And he kind of welcomed me in as his son. And I got 3 little younger sisters. And we stayed in this 2-bedroom house, and it was 15 of us. And at any given moment, that number could grow. And we really didn't believe that, at times that it was hope because what we were seeing, the things that we was experiencing. But my mom and my grandma, they kept us focused in and dialed in on, look, this is just a moment. We will, too, make it through this. We're 15, and we stayed in a small community, Pritchard in Mobile, Alabama, and some of the things that was taking place around us, you had drugs, you had certain things that you probably wouldn't call the best environment for some young kids being raised up. But then my stepdad, he introduced me to this thing called football. And he said, young man, you're going to take football, you're going to use football, and it's going to take you to the next level. And I looked at him, I said, dude, come on, man. Football's not about to do nothing for me. If it's not about to get my mom out this 2-bedroom house. He said, no, it's going to be deeper than the game of football. You're going to get a free education, all these different things. And I ended up buying into it, and I would work countless hours. I was driven by the football. I was living by the football. I was like, man, this is going to give my family an opportunity. And from there, that was the birth of the whole football journey.
15 people?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cousins, dad, sister, everybody. That's just the way my grandma was. She had a big, kind heart, and she would just let people in. That's just the way she was. That's her DNA. That's her nature. And we didn't know no difference, dude. We was just like, dang, this is one big family. This is a nice pallet on the floor. We on top of each other, but this feels good, you know? That's the way we rock, man.
So you're saying football kept you from going to the other side with drugs and all that stuff?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It allowed me to have structure. It was more like my stepdad. He was a military guy. He was in the Navy. So it brought discipline and structure to my life that allowed me to be able to be dialed in a little bit more than some of the other young men in the community, which that was a plus. You know, that was something that I was blessed with. So I look at it as, you know, that was a blessing from God.
So you think, but is it safe to say without your stepfather's presence, you probably would have gone the other way?
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, that's just the way it is. When you brought up in, you know, that could be Chicago, DC, Philly, anyway, you brought up in certain communities, that saying of you become a product of your environment. If you don't have that support system, and if you don't have a vision, you don't have hope, you literally fall victim to the society, and the streets begin to raise you. The streets become your dad, streets become your mom, all those different things. But for me, you know, to have my mom in place, my stepdad and my grandma, it really, you know, it gave me an opportunity, you know, and that's what any human being needs in his life. They need an opportunity. So when I got to Clemson, it was just like Brandon Maye. He's coming and he's a freshman, but really he's not a freshman. Mentally and physically and emotionally, this dude is ready to compete. So starting as a freshman, that was nothing for me. It was like, you know, it was easy.
Yeah. So when did you first meet Vic Koenig? He was the one who recruited you, right?
Yeah. Coach Vic, he recruited me. I was like really on the low side of the totem pole when it comes to recruit. I was a 2-star recruit, and I had like a 5-star on my team, which was Michael McNeil. He was the number 2 safety in the country. So I would always tell him, look, if you bring the coaches in, I'm a rock the party. And I kept telling myself that the whole senior year, and I had a great senior year. But after the year, I still wasn't getting any offers. I had Southern Miss, and I was getting ready to commit to Southern Miss, actually. And I had a couple other schools that was looking at me, and nobody could really understand. I was fully qualified. I just had 120-plus tackle season, couple interceptions, probably about 6 sacks. Everybody was recruiting me, but nobody was pulling the trigger. And one day, Vic Koenig made a call to my defensive coordinator at Davidson High School in Mobile, and he said, hey, man, it's a kid that you keep popping up on film as I look at Michael. Who is this kid? Tell me how fast he run and tell me all these different things about him. And from there, some kind of way, Clemson was recruiting another linebacker, and he ended up committing to University of Florida. And so Vic, he called me up on the phone. He like, hey, look, we had a kid that we had on our board. He's committed, and we got a couple more scholarships left. We want to take a look at you. And so they started watching film, and they called me weekly, and then they offered me. And then they brought me in for the official visit. And Coach Baldy came down to my mom's house, the whole 9 yards, you know, the whole recruitment side of things. And on that visit, I fell in love with Clemson. Like, I flew to Clemson. My mom and dad drove to Clemson. And there was a reason for that. They asked us, did we want to fly? We want to drive. And they wanted to drive, but I was like, I never flown in my life. Like, I've seen videos of people flying, like not trying to play down on, what we have going on as a family or financially, anything like that. But I was like, I'm about to fly. I never flew. So I flew to Clemson, and it was crazy, man. As we was getting ready, I think I slept the whole flight, and we was getting ready to land in Clemson. I saw like these hills. I saw this nice scenery. I think we flew on top of Death Valley. And I knew right there, that was it. That was it. And on the last day of that visit, I committed to Clemson.
Before you landed in Clemson, you knew it was it.
Yeah, before I landed, I never told anybody. I just knew it was it. I knew it was a special place. I knew it was an opportunity for me to grow, not only on the football field, but, as a man, and the whole 9 yards when it comes to academics and being an excellent student athlete. I don't know. I just had the feeling, that gut. You know how Grandma said, that gut feeling. I had the gut feeling.
Rice is a staple in my household. Man, we must cook it 6, 7, 8 times a week with so many different dishes. Well, here's an opportunity to have an exceptionally high-quality rice. Charleston Gold Rice, delivered to your front door. Good friend Don Quattlebaum, Clemson class of 76, produces Charleston Gold Rice at Georgetown's White House Plantation in South Carolina's Old Tidal Rice Fields. The property on the PD and Black Rivers dates to 1735. Find Charleston Gold Rice at GeeChyBoyMill.com. That's GeeChie boymill.com. Phone number 843-631-0077. Also ask them about their wholesale opportunities. We just ordered 5 bags yesterday and can't wait to get them. Happy to have Founders Federal Credit Union on board as a sponsor with us. If you've been to a sporting event in Clemson, you've probably heard about Founders already. They are the official credit union partner of the Clemson Tigers. In addition to that, all Clemson faculty, staff, and students are eligible for membership as well as IPTAY members. Matt Gross is a proud Clemson alum and the vice president for the Clemson market for Founders Federal Credit Union. Matt's office is located beside the Walmart Neighborhood Market on Old Greenville Highway in Clemson. For more information, go to foundersfcu.com. I want to depart from this for just a minute and talk about the topic of pay for play, name, image, and likeness. I'm sure you've paid some attention to that as it's been in the news quite a bit. I'm wondering, from your perspective, I don't have a firm opinion on it one way or the other, but I do wonder, the people who say all they get, I guess, so the people who are pro pay for play, pro athletes being able to profit off their name, image, and likeness, say that all they get's a scholarship, and that's really not even worth a whole lot of money. What I wonder is, particularly for people who come from situations like yours, from a tough situation, you had never flown, all that stuff, the structure that you are provided with, the discipline, almost like a military type of influence and presence in your life, on top of, nowadays the preparation for after football and all that. What I'm wondering, I don't know if I'm even making sense, but the value of all those things combined, particularly for people who come from difficult circumstances, the structure that it provides to allow people like you to go on to be successful in whatever endeavor they choose, how much is that worth by itself?
Are you referring to just college itself, or
for the typical football player who comes from a difficult background, who's able to go and play and be a part of a program that provides us almost a military type of discipline that they didn't have, that they wouldn't have had otherwise? Like, is there a pretty significant monetary value to that, I guess, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's definitely a big time value to that. I wouldn't put money on it because I feel like money isn't everything. But I feel like colleges that are granting these kids full-time scholarships or full scholarships, that they are the biggest nonprofit. I wouldn't say nonprofit because they are profiting. So I don't know how to word it, but it's like the biggest act of service, because you think about a lot of guys that have signed to the major colleges, and ladies that are coming from these type of background, they wouldn't have hope without it. So it's like you saving life, like they're lifesavers to be able to go to some of these institutions and get a 4-year degree and be around certain people and change their environment after they come out of, Philadelphia, or they come from Mobile and Pritchard, or they come from, Baltimore. You're changing their environment. And when you change a human being environment, you change their world. You give them hope, and you allow them to be able to think and see something is possible. That's the biggest act of kindness that you can give a human being, the ability to be able to see that there is hope. You change my world, you change my life. So, yeah, it's life-changing, man. You can't put a dollar sign on it. It's life-changing. Some of these kids, if you would look all the way back for years and years and years, 20 years down, 20 years in the past of college football, or 20 years in the past of women's volleyball, if you really do a poll and research on this, you will see that if you didn't give Sarah, I'm just throwing the name out, if you didn't give Sarah a scholarship, or she didn't earn a scholarship to this university, that if you look into her family tree say that Sarah would be a deadbeat mom, or Sarah would be on drugs. Like if you look into their family background and the lineage, you would see that there's a pattern there. So a lot of these colleges don't know, and I don't even think they really want to dial into that type of data, but they are changing lives for real. This is life changing.
All right, so you redshirt in 2007. Your first game as a redshirt freshman is in Atlanta against an Alabama team that was pretty good. You did have 12 tackles though. You had a really good game, 50 snaps. But goodness, did you sense at that point that wow, this team on the other side of the ball is about to become a giant?
Yeah, that is during the time when I feel like the University of Alabama that everybody know now was birthed. I think that was like Nick Saban's second year, and we actually was the big dog. We came in ranked like number 7 or something in the country. And I've done all these interviews all week with ESPN. And somebody from ESPN took some of my words and reworded it. And I became the bulletin at the University of Alabama, all in their locker room, that this freshman said he wasn't recruited. He got a chip on his shoulder. So my hometown got a news clip that says chip on shoulder, Brandon Maye gets ready to play Alabama. So I became instantly the target for that big game. So they ran the ball, as you can imagine. Like they tried to pound the ball out. But I came in excited and hyped. But they was really, really physical. They was well coached. They didn't make many mistakes. We made a ton of mistakes. At the end of the day, we made so many mistakes, and we couldn't get our offense to stay on the field long enough to give us a break to compete. So I feel like Chad Morris should have a statue at Clemson, to be honest with you, because he brought this fast-paced offense that is known now as the scoring machine. And that's really what Clemson was missing. I mean, defensive-wise, we had all these players on offense, but we wasn't getting points on the board, and we couldn't stay on the field. And you was tiring out the defense. But defensive-wise, we was a good defense. We made mistakes just like anybody else, but we was a quality defense.
Yeah, going into that year, y'all had something that I think is unprecedented. ACC Player of the Year. The preseason voting, Clemson had 1, 2, and 3. I forgot the order, but it was Cullen Harper, James Davis, C.J. Spiller. And then you're sitting there, I guess, in Tommy Bowden's last game in October at Wake Forest, looking, y'all had allowed 12 points, and the offense put up 7. What is it like as a defense and as a team when you have something like that where the defense is playing pretty well and the offense isn't holding up its end of the bargain? Is it hard to keep unity in a locker room when you have that sort of disparity?
No, man, it's definitely. It's disheartening, but at the same time, from a linebacker standpoint, you consider the leader. So your job is to keep guys together. And as a young linebacker, I think I was like 18 years old, 19 years old. I was young. I was a freshman. It's hard to actually look at it and say, man, this is not right. I knew this wasn't right because every snap, every drive we have, it's like your legs are heavy because we was on the field too long. After every game, you feel exhausted. It was just, we wasn't putting points up on the board. And I think when Coach Sweeney became their head coach at Clemson, or our head coach at Clemson, he brought in that fast-paced offense that was known for scoring points. But it's something that was done that nobody really knows about. I don't talk about it. Taj don't talk about it, to be honest. But I got so frustrated with us not being able to score and us not being able to put points on the board. Granted, we did have a great quarterback in Cullen Harper, and I feel like sometimes it was about schemes. We just didn't have the right scheme, or we made this mistake run, or the offensive line. Like, it was always just something that was stopping us from getting to that point. Like, Coach Baldwin was a great coach, guys. This is not something like we was a pity party, you know? Yeah. Like, this is a good coach. He was more reserved. You got different types of coaches. So he just was faithful to his offensive coordinator. You know, at the end of the day, he was faithful. He wasn't going to make that move. But it was definitely disheartening. But Taj Bard, I recruited that guy because I said we need a fast-paced offense and we need a dual threat, and nobody at Clemson knew about Taj. I went on Facebook. I think it was Facebook at the time, and I looked under rivals. And I looked under dual threat quarterbacks. I was telling Leighton Covich, who's a top entrepreneur and business owner in the state of South Carolina, I was telling him this the other day. He was on my webinar. Taj was basically playing bougie. He was playing hard to get. I looked at him. I sent him all these different messages. I was blowing his inbox up, man. He was committed to Oregon at the time. And I think it was like 4 weeks into it, he finally hit me back with a message. And when he hit me back, he said something that triggered me to go to Coach Sweeney and Coach Scott, and I say, dude, this dude is committed to Oregon, but we talking on Facebook. We need to try to get him in for a visit. And so I said, Taj, if Clemson offers, I don't know if he had Clemson offer at the time, if Clemson offers, I said, Taj, would you come and give a visit? And he was like, yes. And I was like, I got him. I got my dual threat quarterback. So Taj come on a visit. I'm his host. I got his brother with me. His official visit. We having fun and stuff. I think his brother had like a stomach bug or something like that. We driving on the highway. He throws up in my car, and I look at Taj and I say, Taj, you're committing to Clemson tomorrow. He said, Brandon, I am. I'm all in. And so that was the start of the Taj Bard era. And as you know now, we got Taj, and then we got Deshaun Watson, we got Trevor Lawrence, we got all these great quarterbacks that's coming behind him. And if you look at something, they're dual threat. They can move around the pocket, and they create like literally so much havoc for defensive coordinators. And so we're able to put points on the board now at Clemson. So that was the start of the movement, man. But yeah, it's frustrating as a defense to play as many snaps as we had to play. Not saying that the offense didn't have the players. We had the players. We had the caliber of players. But for some reason, we just couldn't put points on the board. So
that's a great story. So the day, a couple days after, I guess 3 or 4 days after the Wake Forest game, October 13th, 2008, where were you when you first heard that Tommy Bowden was out, and how did you hear the news?
The news was, I think we had they called a team meeting, and I think it was for that Sunday or it's for that Monday.
Yeah, so y'all had so the Wake game was on a Thursday, and then I think y'all practiced on that Sunday night.
So that was on, so that had to be on Friday. I think it was the day afterwards. What day?
No, it was on a Monday, and y'all had practiced on that Sunday night, I believe.
Okay. And so we started to hear chatter like after the game. Because we because Wake is not that far. It's within like the mileage for the flights or something like that. So we actually drove to Wake Forest, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. And we started to hear like the chatter on the bus. And if you pull out your phone and you Google certain things like Clemson football or something like that, it was like Tommy Bowden on the hot seat, could be fired this weekend. It's like certain stuff that you were seeing, and then word started spreading. And you can kind of feel that something was about to shake or it's about to happen. And then they called a team meeting. And then we went in for the team meeting. They gave us the news. and then they introduced Coach Sweeney, and then this dude just like come in like he's been sitting in like the wing, like just waiting for this. He just comes on the stage like, I'm Dabo Sweeney. Like he reintroduced himself to us. I'm like, I'm Dabo Sweeney. This is my once in a lifetime opportunity. He told us his life story. Like he was in college. His mom was staying in the room with him because they was homeless. Like he just started going in, and he was like, I'm all in. If you're not all in, that goes the door. Somebody opens the door up. I'm like, dang, dude, it's serious. Like, he's been waiting for this. So it took a minute for us to not see him as this wide receiver coach, because he's always been our wide receiver coach, to transition over to like, this dude is the interim head coach. So it took a couple games. We had some close losses, and then you start getting guys dialing in, like Jock McKissick. You start getting Tyler Grissom, all these different guys that was dialing in. And when that happened, it just started triggering down. I started getting the defense like, look, we about to win this job going into the South Carolina game. And we won that game, and then all you hear is Dabo Sweeney, and that was it. The rest was history.
One thing was Dabo didn't really get along with Coach Koenig, who was then that December was out. What was that like for you, just given your relationship with Coach Koenig? What was the feeling at the time, knowing that Coach Vic was out the door?
The whole thing for us was really confusing. We didn't quite understand what was taking place, and we couldn't see the future. So there was a little doubt in there. We was really trying to figure out who's going to be the next DC. Where are we going with this thing? But because of that season and all that we went through that season and the transition and those wins that we had that landed the job for Coach Sweeney, we believed whatever moves he was going to make. We believed in all the moves that Coach Sweeney was going to make. So it was a tough deal, because that's the guy who recruited me. And under him, I was a freshman All-American. I had great season that year, and that was definitely a crazy emotional moment for us. But we believed in what Coach Sweeney was saying at that point. We believed in him. We trusted in him. So we was just ready to like buy in with the new DC, and that was Kevin Steele.
Do you remember when everything sort of crystallized with that buy-in to Coach Sweeney? Was it instant, or did it take a few weeks? When did that come, based on your recollection?
I think it was different for each individual. You had some people that instantly just bought in because they probably was just like, whatever, like, we just gonna do it. Like, we bought into it. And then you had some people that looked at them like, man, I'm not about to dial in or like go all in for no wide receiver coach. It was a wide receiver coach. That's the way they looked at it. And then you had guys that was like, let's just do it. That was like kind of like straddling the fence. They was like, I'm all in one day and then the next day. But I don't think he left a chance for anybody to really wonder or let their mind think on anything. He took control of it. He took control of it, from the strength coach side of it to the study hall, to the training room. He put his rules in place instantly. I'm telling you, dude, it's like this guy had been preparing for this moment. Like, he was ready for this moment. Like, this is not just I just became the interim coach. And that's what a lot of coaches probably have. They're not looking at this opportunity may come for me that I can become a head coach. Coach Sweeney was looking and prepared. He was prepared for the moment. So it's like he pulled out a binder out of his closet, Dabo Sweeney, head coach. And then he just integrated it into Clemson.
I think he was ready for it. Yeah, I think he really did. There was actually a binder that he had been putting together, I guess, over the previous couple of years, sort of outlining his vision and how he planned to run his program. He even had names of assistant coaches who wouldn't join the program for years down the road, like Tony Elliott, Brandon Streeter. Their names were in there. Unbelievable. Wow. Yeah.
Wow. And I didn't even know that. That's new info. I know about the binder now that they go through doing camp. They go off as a staff and they go through this, like the Dabo Sweeney isms. Like I know that stuff because I'm in there with them now. So he shared a lot of stuff with me. We talk a lot. I text him at like 12 o'clock at night. He texts back. He always been this real coach, this real guy. And he is not acting like a head coach. Like he's acting like a father. He's acting like a mentor. He's acting like somebody that's going to help you out, you know, and it's a different deal when you playing for a coach like that or you dealing with a coach like that. He's spiritually, like mentally, like physically, because he's putting the right people in place. Like he's making sure that you're physically fit. Like he's just, I don't know, dude. It's like he was he was waiting, man. He was waiting for the moment. And that actually inspired me as being a young entrepreneur now. And I really want to go all over the state of South Carolina working with companies and businesses and individuals and just helping them out so that they can get some of these tools that I actually got from Coach Sweeney. Like he has really inspired me and really helped me take my life to the next level. For a man that be a wide receiver coach, and I'm not downplaying that, let's just say position coach, but have a book, a pamphlet, or whatever that's in place that say, this is the Sweeney head coach booklet. That's incredible. That's a great deal of faith.
So you follow the program really closely, I guess?
Oh yeah, I'm brought in like 2 to 3 times a year to do these different mental development sessions with the team, and then also we do like some motivational stuff. But now we're transitioning my company, Elite Transformation. We're transitioning into doing a lot of stuff online, and I'm working on creating a high performance online academy that is going to be life changing, and that's what we're focusing on. And I'm using some of the traits that I've learned or I have inquired, or some of the different principles that I've learned from being around the Clemson community. That's not to go underestimated, man. The things that the team has done over the last couple of years, you know, being able to be around some high performing coaches and players has been incredible, man. Yeah, I work with a lot of those guys hands on, like Simmons. I work with him throughout the year. Who else? ETN. I work with the cornerback. What's his name? I can't even think his name right now. AJ Terrell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, AJ Terrell. I work with him. We actually texted yesterday. So, you know, I'm just continuing to stay connected to the program.
And what's your role? Like what's the relationship there? Like, what are you imparting to these guys, like at Terrell and Simmons specifically?
Well, my thing now, man, is I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner, a mentor, a philanthropist. So I think in order for a human being to perform at a high level in any area of their life, then they must be whole in the inside. So personal goals, your character, your dignity, your integrity, that allows you to be able to perform at a high level on the field. And people can see that it's not just about football. So we do a lot of personal development stuff. They ask me like certain questions. I listen a lot, and then I give them my response or my advice, and that helped those guys out. Because, you know, those guys now are multimillionaires, and everybody got their hand out, and everybody like, hey, look, I used to change your diapers when you was 5 years old, and it get confusing. I just saw, like, I think 2 weeks ago, some things about Sammy Watkins. He was having some problems with just adjusting, you know, and feeling some type of way. And, you know, I would love to, I haven't spoken to him, but I love to stay in contact with him, because this thing called football, man, it's just football. It's just a platform. But how you treat somebody, the way you serve people, the way that you live your life off the field, that's going to define who you are. I got fans, Clemson fans, that's a part of my online community, that's a part of our transformation team, all these things, because the way that I set freaking a chair at the games and sit out there and was signed every autograph, that's what separates you. So I ask those young men, I ask them and say, what separates you? What's your competitive edge? Not just on the field. What are you doing off the field as an entrepreneur? Are you making money when you sleep? Are those millions and millions of dollars turning over? Or are you just out here buying bottles and popping bottles in the club and buying these nice cars and all that stuff? because you got to create generational wealth with this opportunity. So I just coach them. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching as a business coach, also as a life coach. And I'm just working, man. Life after football, it's a process just like football. It took a lot of years to earn that scholarship to get to Clemson, a lot of hard work, a lot of hours. And that's the same thing now as an entrepreneur and business owner. It's taking time, but I'm dialed into the process.
We've talked about the beginnings of Dabo Swinney's head coaching reign, but what is it like now to sit and take in what that program has become?
I think now for me, I've always been a fan of, let's just say, a rapper. I've always been a fan of a rapper or a singer, like their old hits, like all their old hits. And the reason I've been a fan of those is because those are the foundational hits. Like when Michael Jackson came out something in the old, which he was always hot. He always did his thing. But he had a different, like a different grind to it. You can feel a little, like I listen to his old stuff because you can feel it a little bit different. And so what I try to do is when I go in and when I speak to Coach Swinney, I want to know what was your thinking like. And he's on my webinar. Every person that's listening to this podcast right now, every person that is reading this article right now needs to be on my webinar when Coach Swinney is on there, and every week actually. But I want to know about the Coach Swinney, like when you transition in to this head coaching position. Like, what are you thinking? Like, what's your thoughts? What are some of your greatest challenges? And the reason I want to know that because those are foundational things, and that's what made him who we are right now. So right now, as you look into the organization, the team itself, he's got some systems and processes in place. And like I told the guys last year, I flip houses. And when I go into those houses, every house is different. You may have a 2,500 square foot house, a 3,000 square foot house, different houses, right? But I have the same systems and the same processes. So we're going to get the same results every single time. So when I was talking to the team this past summer, I say, look, we don't have to repeat. Repeat is the worst name that they can say. The media use those type of words, repeat. We don't have to repeat. We just have to start over the process because we're going to get the same results because Coach Swinney has a system and the coaches, they have a system and they have the processes in place to get those results. You just got to buy into the start over the process. And so that's what I try to do when I'm dealing with Coach Swinney and the team. I try to keep them away from being involved in the media, and he does a great job with it, and their staff do a great job with it. We just starting over the process. We already got this in place. We won national titles now. So just start over. And he imported some things in me as a man, and he challenged me. He pushed me. And so I'm grateful, man. He's helping me out with the online course we create. It's some great stuff happening.
If you're a business owner and your business involves credit card processing, you need to reach out to Tandem Innovative Payment Solutions. A lot of different ways that Tandem can improve your bottom line by shaving off some of those expenses. In addition to processing credit card payments, Tandem also manages inventory, schedules staff, tracks sales, gains insight into customers, and gets transaction reports. With Tandem, you're not a number, you're a neighbor. Learn more about Tandem at tandempayment.com. Another loyal supporter of the Dubcast is Blackacre Law Firm in Greenville, a subsidiary of Parham Smith & Archenhold. Blackacre helps South Carolina residents achieve their dreams of home ownership by providing experienced professional representation for real estate closings. Attention to detail is crucial in real estate law. Blackacre is committed to making sure nothing gets by them preparing residential or commercial closings. Blackacre also offers estate planning services for their clients in the Greenville area. Find out more about Blackacre at 864-326-3507. Harris Flooring has been a major part of the facilities enhancements over at Clemson, not just with athletics, but also at the university level. And we are thrilled that they are a part of the Dubcast as a sponsor. Since 1947, the Junkins family and Harris Flooring have provided a unique shopping experience through value in their services, developing the right product solutions, and delivering on their promises. To check out some reviews on their work, just go to their Facebook page, Harris Flooring America. Rave reviews, just first class all the way. Phone number 864-642-6183. Is it amazing to you where they are right now nationally? I mean, it's almost like it'd be crazy to think that they wouldn't be in the playoff, where 5 or 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was crazy to think they would be.
It's a belief system. It's a belief system. Once you went to a place one time, you believe that you can do it again. And then the system and the process has been, and it's established. It's in place. It's already been done. So now, like you said, once we go to the playoffs, it's like, dang, we're supposed to be in here. So now the expectations have changed, where we're not looking to just go to the playoff. We're looking to win a national title every year. We're looking to be top 2, top 3 recruiting class every year. So this is, I think the amazing side of it is to see someone actually pull out their little book of isms of being a head coach, which is Dabo Swinney, and see it continues to repeat itself. That's amazing, man, to be able to do this over and over and over again. People don't know how hard this actually is to continue to repeat this stuff, to get to the playoff, just to get to the playoff alone. The hard work, the dedication. You got to understand, these young guys are not just doing this with like the clearest schedule in the world. They're not NFL players. They're going to class. They're having to maintain their schoolwork. They're going to study all. Then they're having to maintain girl control. They're having to maintain party control. They're having to maintain all these things. But the systems this guy have in place, like literally, if Coach Swinney stops like coaching today, I think he can make $1 billion as a motivational speaker and business consultant, because he understands how to put a system and process in place that really lines up every year. And if you go against it, he's going to enforce his rules. And I love that, man. I love the way they're getting down, dude. This is amazing. You know, they're getting down on the Nick Saban type of level, and I'm a fan of it.
What's your favorite memory from being at Clemson? And it doesn't have to be necessarily a win. Could be like a behind the scenes locker room, like your favorite story that I guess we could print.
Is that with the team or just my favorite story?
With the team. Your favorite memory during your time with Clemson?
I think my favorite memory is to see something as dramatic happen as a coach getting fired mid-season, and then taking a team of individuals that have already bought into someone's sets of beliefs, which that's what we do every spring, every summer. We buy into the belief of that head coach or those coaches. To see those guys transition, to see men transition. What I promise you, if you go back and you trace every athlete that was on that team and you trace their life, I promise you, is successful. You won't find many guys that have failed in life on that team. And the reason being is because of that moment. To transition your belief system to adapt another belief system, man, that's tough. That's like going from, that's tough, dude. And to see that take place, that was the biggest memory that I hold on to for the rest of my life. So like if I come up against like a roadblock in any area of my life, I have now adapted the ability to transition. And at the end of that transition, you hear Dabo Swinney. You know, you hear 100,000 people screaming the name. So it's like you saw something that transitioned out, and then you saw the results that happened from it. So you're like, man, if anything come up in life, I may get punched in the mouth. Tommy Bowden got punched in the mouth, but I transitioned. Our team got punched in the mouth, but we transitioned. That was a great coach. That was a great guy, Tommy Ball. He sat right there in my living room, and I committed to the university because of him, his belief system. But to see a whole new set, and these are the guys that Coach Swinney don't even have on the staff right now. Like we had Coach Conan, we had Coach Rump, a couple more coaches. These are great coaches. But to see these guys transition, I never forget that. So, yeah, that was my biggest moment. That season when Coach Baldwin got fired and guys really bought into a new system, and they said, look, we're going to do it. We lost a couple close games, but we kept fighting, and Coach Swinney became the head coach at Clemson University.
With the pandemic and all, do you have an opinion on whether football should be played and how much, fans, all that stuff this season?
That's more of I guess, a personal opinion. Me, I'm going to look at it from the standpoint of the football player. And I'm going to say to myself that, look, if it's not a safe environment, we human beings also. I don't feel like a professional or college athlete shouldn't be playing the game of football if it's not safe. Some people, they go on rants about it and they pull out stats and all these things, but they kind of feel like we're robots and that we're immune to the virus and catching or contacting the virus. And so they're like, let's play football. Let's play football. Let's play football. But I'm saying to myself, these people or these athletes are actually human beings also.
Yeah.
So if they touch each other or their locker is too close and they cough on each other or they go into the same training room, same bathroom, all those things that they have to do throughout the week, and they contact the virus, there's 100 athletes in there that can contact the virus. Now, I believe that the immune system of those athletes and the way that the diet and stuff is set up at Clemson and all these other places, I believe it'll hold up. And you won't have guys just like, just like dying and stuff. But there's a possibility for it to be a huge outbreak in that community for the sake of somebody's excitement, so they can sit in the front of the TV on Saturday morning and eat barbecue and eat popcorns. And I don't believe that's fair. And that's just my belief. But, they may have a way to jump over that barrel. If they have a way and it's a smart way, then I'm all for it. I'm 100% for it. But right now, me personally, just like some of the guys I know, they're like, I'm not stepping on nobody's field.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So, that's just the way it goes, man. You got athletes that I deal with daily, man, that I talk to all the time, and they don't feel it's safe for them right now. But then you got the adrenaline rush that comes to an athlete, and we'll run through a brick wall if we got to.
So the notion that all athletes are ready to get back and aren't scared at all of anything, you don't think that's true?
No, it's personal. It's a personal thing. You may have 50% either way.
Yeah.
You may have 75% and 25%. I can't really say on that.
Sure. Anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to share, Brandon?
No, sir, not really. I would give a message to people to tell people that, when life throw you a punch or, you get hit in the mouth, don't give up. Don't give in. Don't quit. That on the other side of the mountain is greatness. It's an opportunity for you. And I think I mentioned multiple times on this call, I came up with something that I feel is going to be life-changing for a lot of people. So I've been speaking on stages, and when I get off the stage, I don't have any ongoing education or programs in place for people. So they ask me how do I sign up for this? I'm like, we don't even have that in place. So now I feel like during the pandemic, I was challenged to serve the people, and that it's a time for sowing and it's a time for reaping. And so my deal is, how can I serve the people now? So they tell me that the virus was spread or it can be spread from person to person, like contact to contact, like interacting with people. And I said, isn't that the same way with success? Could I create some type of community that people would get videos and they would get free podcasts and they would get webinars and all these different things, and they would come 2 or 3 times a year to a retreat, and we will help each other live the life and hold each other accountable for the life we have dreamed of. If you can contact the virus person to person, then you should be able to contact success. And, people need motivation. That's with sales. I mean, you on this call, you at work right now, people need motivation. People need things that would transform their mind. And so I figured, let me create some success. And just like the virus, when we get on these different calls or we interact with these little group meetings that we're having right now, one day this community will change the world. So I have created this elite transformation community where we'll have online courses that people can go through. We'll have monthly deals where people can subscribe and they get like videos. They'll be able to get on our once a week or once a month call. I haven't really like dived into the whole game plan of it yet. They'll be able to come to Miami, Atlanta, Georgia, another country or whatever, kind of like Tony Robbins, and we'll have a retreat and we'll help people. I have different trainers and people on my team that we help people live the life that they once dreamed of. That's what I'm after, man. And all this is happening now because I didn't give up. I didn't give in. I kept striving. I kept going. It's been times when I've driven to Greenville, South Carolina to speak at the chamber event, had no clue, man, that I'll go there and I'll change somebody's life. And the next week they'll call me and say, hey, Brandon, my company was going bankrupt. My wife and we got divorced, but you spoke something. Now we're going to counseling and my company just did $1 million. You know what I mean? Like, wow. That's what I'm after, man. So the game of football has given me those traits, being at Clemson, which is a special place. This is not to, like, people say it, but when you actually experience it, when you actually go through this university and you experience some of the things that I have learned, people that I've interacted with, and people that still follow me on Facebook that are Clemson fans, even after the transfer, that's uncommon. And so I'm holding on to that. And I believe if I can hold on to the traits in the Clemson way, that I can continue to be successful in life. So join me on my webinar calls. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram. And Larry, I'll send you over some information so you can get it out to y'all people so we can get as many people that we can to be a part of this community. But I appreciate this. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Good for you, Brandon, and congratulations on what you have become. And keep it up. And really appreciate you joining us, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Thank you for putting up with a talker.
Hey, that's what this is all about, man. The talkers are the best.
For sure, man. Hey, it's so weird because all these different people that I used to do interviews with, like every week at Clemson, all those people are now like the media people. They're my friends. Like they hit me up on Facebook. See, that's what I'm talking about. Taking advantage, like looking at everybody as a human being and not acting crazy or funny in the media. Like, speak to people, say hello to people. Those different people now, like people are sending me pictures like, look, I just had a baby girl. These are media people. These are people that as an athlete, we like, man, let's go to the locker room. I don't feel like talking to the media. I'm like, let me talk to the people because I'm about branding and marketing. I want people to see that I'm more than a football player. This is secondary. So yeah, that's the deal, man. But I appreciate you guys having me on Tiger Illustrated. This is big time. Thank you.
All right, thanks to Brandon Maye, and another example of some great testimony by these former players about their experiences and their lives. So thanks to him for sharing his time. Also, thanks to our 7 sponsors, loyal sponsors of the podcast. Please patronize them. And also any local businesses in your area that you know and love. All right, appreciate y'all listening. Everybody have a great rest of the week and weekend, and we'll be back next week. Cheers.